In today's video, we're going to take a look at 15 signs that you might be an autistic adult. And on the title slide that's coming up here in a moment, and the thumbnail you saw on the YouTube video channel, it's a little nod and a little salute to a comedian that I enjoy listening to, Jeff Foxworthy. And you see the slide here, it's coming up right here. You might be an autistic adult if. Hey, Define Yourselfer. I am the Confident Autistic. I'm an autistic adult, late diagnosed. Here on my YouTube channel, I share videos that will help you understand autism and build the confidence necessary to live life confidently autistic. Now, if this resonates with you, please subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to ring the bell to be notified of new videos and when I go live for my weekly Q&A live stream. Now, the first of the 15 signs that you might be an autistic adult, if you've always felt different. Now, you spent your entire life feeling like you don't quite fit in, as if everyone else got a social rule book that you never received. Now, I've also heard this described by people on the spectrum as feeling like you're an alien on this planet. Now, I can relate to a lot of this because throughout my entire life, I always thought I was different. In fact, let's be honest, and tell me if you feel the same way. I knew I was different. Okay, I knew that. It's not just a feeling, I was convinced of it because interacting with people was difficult. I had to fight, not physical fight, not bam, punch somebody, but I had to fight to survive in conversations and in friendships and relationships, even with family members. How people interacted always overwhelmed me. Now, the second sign that you may be autistic is if socializing is exhausting. Now, this is best described as you can interact with people, but it drains you, and you may need a lot of alone time to recover after social events. I can relate to this, okay? I truly can. I have trouble interacting with people, and it drains me. I can do it, but it's very draining and exhausting. Now, in what I described here, that you may need a lot of alone time to recover after social events. That is true. And for me, it's true. But even more so, this is in my case, maybe yours as well. If it is, please share it in the comments. If I know I'm going to have someone over, and I really don't like people at my house that much. I mean, I'm okay. It's okay, but it's not my favorite place to meet people. I'd rather meet people away from my house because my house is my safe zone. But when I know I'm going to have to interact with people, whether it be at home or in public, I need a lot of alone time to prepare for it as well. It's weird. If I'm going to hang out with somebody for 3 hours, for an hour, it's 3 hours, like 2 to 3 hours alone time before, and 3 to 4 hours afterwards to kind of decompress. You may be an autistic adult if you mask without realizing it. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, let me quickly break down what masking is. And the term being masking, obviously a mask. Masking is when you do things to hide your autistic traits from other people often in an attempt to fit in with our autistic peers. And an autistic person is a person who is not on the spectrum, which the majority, and I mean vast majority, probably over 98% of the people you interact with, I think it might be a little bit lower than that, are autistics. And I say I think it may be a little bit lower because current numbers say about 2% of the population is on the spectrum. But I think if we learn more about autism, I think that percentage is going to go up slightly. But I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an average guy who is a late diagnosed autistic adult. So as I said, you may be an autistic adult if you mask without realizing it. And this means you mimic others' behaviors, rehearse conversations in your head, or carefully monitor your tone and expression to blend in with others. I believe I do this, and I believe others do this, by subconsciously. We just do it so naturally, we don't even realize we're doing it. I know that I really do struggle with this. I do mask a lot. I feel like I always have to have my guard up around people because I don't want people to see who I authentically am, my autistic traits. I felt that way in my life because when I have, let people see some of it, I've been made fun of, I've been mocked, I've been bullied. Those are the types of things I've been through. And if you've been through those experiences, let me know so I don't feel like I'm alone in the world on this, okay? So please share, excuse me, what you're comfortable with in the comments on this video. Now, you may be an autistic adult if small talk feels forced and confusing. This means you prefer deep, meaningful conversations and struggle with the point of casual chit chat. I hate small talk. Okay. The one thing you need to know about me before you ever meet me, I hate small talk. I don't like doing small talk. I bought a T-shirt for a purpose to kind of discourage people from small talking with me, and it backfired. Get this wonderful T-shirt off of Amazon. I'm going to put a picture up here on this side of the screen here in a moment, and it basically says, "You read my shirt. That's enough small talk or enough social interaction for the day." I don't have it right in front of me, but look at it on the screen. That's what it actually says. And I bought it so I wore it. We had to go somewhere. We went out to the hospital, get some x-rays done for my wife. So I'm walking through the hospital thinking this shirt's going to keep people from wanting to start conversations with me. I had 3 people walk up to me and say, "I love your shirt. Where did you get it?" That is so me. But yeah, I really don't like small talk. By the way, the link to that shirt that's available on Amazon in the video description. And remember, I am an Amazon associate. And if you use that link to purchase an item on Amazon, I may earn a commission. And those commissions do support the work that I do here on the channel and other places to help people live confidently autistic. So feel free to support my efforts that way. But yeah, I really don't like small. I don't, because my mom, when I was a kid, was trying to teach me how to do small talk. She said, say things like, "How do you like this weather?" And I'm like, I don't really care how somebody else likes it. Why would I want to know? I don't get it. Or, I've heard a recommendation that, hey, guy, go into work and say, "Hey, it's Friday. Aren't you happy about that?" Why am I telling somebody something they already should know? I don't get it. I just don't. And in junior high, I had a counselor, a school guidance counselor. His first name was Jerry. Good guy. I didn't care for him that much when I was in junior high because I was in that age, middle school, where I wanted to rebel against all authority, which was pretty much my life motto as going through public school. But anyway, I would walk through the hallway and the kids would ask me, how are you doing? And I would just say, "Fine." And he had to tell me several times, "You got to say, 'Oh, I'm doing great. How are you doing?' Because that's small talk." I just don't see the point in it. Now, for me, it does feel forced and it's very confusing. Small talk is hard for me. And maybe this is the confusing part because when somebody says something to me, it causes me anxiety. I don't know exactly what they expect me to say. Like, boy, somebody would say to me, "Boy, it's cold outside today." What do you want me to say? I mean, yeah, it is. Come on. Temperature's 18 degrees outside. My first response is, "No kidding, genius. What was your first clue?" Because I'm very sarcastic, but I know I've been told that's inappropriate to say. So small talk is very confusing to me and it causes me anxiety because when somebody starts small talk with me, I don't know exactly what they're expecting to hear back from me. So it's very difficult and confusing for me. Now, in this description, I explained to you that many people who find small talk to be forced upon them or confusing, the people you may be one of them, prefer deep, meaningful conversations and struggle with the point of casual chit chat. Now, the point I want to focus in on here is this: prefer deep, meaningful conversations. I'm really not that big on that. And now with certain people, yes, but I don't like long conversations that go on for a while because I get well, I'll be honest, I get bored, but more importantly, I become anxious because I'm not sure, am I doing this right? Am I meeting their expectations of what they expect me to say? Am I showing too much of my autism? Am I going to be ridiculed? All of that, that happens for me. Share your experiences about small talk. Do you like it? Don't you like it? What do you like about it? What confuses you? Whatever you're comfortable with, share in the comments section. Now, you might be an autistic adult if you hyper focus on special interests. This means you get deeply passionate about special topics, often researching or engaging with them for hours without realizing the time. I do a little bit of this. I don't go the full extreme. I'm not like you sit down with me and you're going to hear me talk for the next 3 hours about buses. I love collecting buses. Okay, I love buses, or what the time is in each part of. I'm fascinated by what time it is in different parts of the world. I always am. You won't hear me talk about that for 3 hours, but I do have some special topics and special interests. Like I said, buses. I'm very interested about, I mean, how vastly different life is in North Korea compared to here. So I watch a lot of videos on what's it like to live in North Korea. I know I sound like a geek. Not that I have any desire to live there or want America to become North Korea, but I just find it so fascinating how vastly different North Korea is and how resilient that the people of that country is to continue to pushing on in a very oppressive society. Okay, I'm starting to get boring here. I know. If you're not interested, you're in North Korea. You're finding me boring. But the point is, I do have a little bit of this, not too heavy, and that's okay. Like I've always said in my videos, every one of us on the spectrum will experience autism differently. There's no one size fits all. You may be an autistic adult if routine is your comfort zone. Now, this means unexpected changes throw you off and you find stability in routines, schedules, or predictability patterns. Now, this is me. I thrive for routines. Oh gosh, I do. And this probably was why, excuse me, I was drawn to radio and television as a kid. Because on radio and TV, and I'm going to geek out a little bit here, so stay with me. Uh, at TV stations, radio stations at the top of the hour, like, at 8 o'clock, whatever, they had to do what was called the legal ID, like KCR St. Louis. KCR is now called that as for a station in the state of Washington, but when I was a kid, it was Hit Radio 103 KCR, the best radio station I ever listened to. I love that station and the people who created it, behind coming up with that new format. It was revolutionary at the time, including John Frost, my favorite afternoon DJ. Shout out to John. Anyway, so I love that, and I love how commercial breaks and music and things had to start on time and schedules, and I love that. That's one of the reasons I'm fascinated with buses. They have a schedule, they have a routine, they have a pattern. I love that stuff. And when somebody interrupts or an unproductive change is throws me off. And my schedules are not just buses and TV schedules, radio, that type of thing. I'm trying. Right now is a really difficult time in my life. There's a lot going on that's not relevant to this video, but I like to have a routine, and even my smallest routines. Like, I'm going to leave the office. I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to put this empty water bottle. It's not empty, but let's say it was, into the recycling area, grab a new bottle of water, and come back in here. That's my plan. That's my routine. That's what I'm going to do. Then while I'm in the kitchen, my wife will say, "Oh, can you bring me a bottle of soda?" I love my wife, and I will bring it to her, but it's like, and I have to resist groaning like that because I know she needs my help. As you've heard in other videos, she's battling stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, so I don't mind taking care of her. But it interrupted. It was unexpected. It interrupted my routine, my plan, and it just because I find routines comforting. And I'm really trying to get into routine, but we have some things going on here at our house. I don't want to talk about it right now that is challenging the existence of the concept of a routine. So share your thoughts in the comments, whatever you're comfortable with, about, is routine important to you? Does it help you regulate yourself? Does it provide you stability? You may be an autistic adult if you have sensory sensitivities. And sensory sensitivities include you're sensitive to bright light, which I am. That's why I always wear a hat in these videos. Because for you to see me, I got this big white light up here illuminating me. Actually, it's kind of a soft blue. Anyway, and it bothers me. So I'm always wearing a hat. You see me in public, I always have a hat on. Bright lights, loud noises, strong smells, or certain textures can be overwhelming or even painful. Loud noises bother me. Loud crowds avoid me. Today, my wife and I went out to get the mail, which we realized that was a bad idea because we had high winds today and it almost blew me over and her over too. But we went out to get the mail. And when we were leaving the house, it's the monthly test of the tornado season, because the time that we're taping this is the beginning of this is severe weather preparation week and the beginning of our tornado season, where we live. The peak of it is in May. So we went outside, and across the street from our house, across the street, is a tornado siren. And the thing went off and it's loud. Now, it's not as loud when we have a storm going, okay, because of the wind and all. But when there's no wind, and there wasn't that much, it was painfully loud. So, these are sensory sensitivities you may have. Now, sensory sensitivities we often think of, well, the bright lights bother me, or the loud noises, or strong smells, or certain textures, they bother you. Other way that does not get that much publicity or talked about that much in our community is our sensory sensitivities that we are sensory seeking. Some of us are wanting loud noise or crowded environments because we're seeking out that sense it gives to us. So when you think of sensory sensitivities, don't only think about, it being too much for you, but also think about you're craving a sensory input stimulation that will make you feel good and make you feel self-regulated, relaxed, etc. Now, you may be an autistic adult if you struggle with eye contact. Maintaining eye contact can feel unnatural, uncomfortable, or even distracting. Now, I hate eye contact. I don't like it at all. It bothers me. When someone tries to make eye contact with me, it causes me anxiety. It makes me very uncomfortable. Now, when I was younger, now all my life, I was born with cataracts, so I'm legally blind. 22 in my left, 23 in my right. And there's a perfect reason I'm sharing this story. I did not like eye contact, okay? And I thought it was because I'm visually impaired. And I thought, well, eye contact doesn't really mean that much to me because I don't see all that well. So that is one of the signs that I was autistic, that I we didn't think I was on the spectrum because I had another rational, logical, likely explanation why I did not enjoy eye contact. But it turns out it is more than likely part of my autism. Now, it could be partially my vision as well. I'm not an expert, but it could be. And of course, when I was a kid, it was back in the 1970s, we knew a lot less about autism than we do today. But yeah, maintaining eye contact can feel unnatural, uncomfortable, or even very distracting. I've heard some people, and I think this is true for me too, that if I'm in a conversation with someone and someone does eye contact with me, or I force eye contact with them because I know they expect it, I know autistics do, many of them do, I don't pay attention that well, or I don't remember that well, because I'm spending so much of my resources on my brain to maintain eye contact. So I rather not have eye contact with people, and I try not to. I kind of look in their direction, kind of fake it a little bit, but I don't like making eye contact. It's very uncomfortable for me. But I don't look down and not even look up at all like this. Now, I'm not mocking anyone. I'm just saying I don't do that. I just kind of fake the eye contact thing. So share your experiences or your thoughts on eye contact. Whatever you're comfortable with, feel free to share it in the comment section. Now, you may be an autistic adult if you have a unique way of communicating, you might be blunt, struggle with sarcasm, or take things literally, leading to misunderstandings. I am blunt, okay? Uh, my wife it says, don't ask Chris how he feels about you because he will tell you. And you may or may not want to hear it. I'm so blunt. In fact, when I worked in radio, I started out in radio. I was my first year of college. I was 18, turning 19, and people would call in and would ask me if I'm British. And I didn't get that because I don't have an accent. And it turned out they were referring to my bluntness because a lot of people who are British are considered to be blunt, at least in the American culture we are. And I am extremely blunt. And I do take things literally. In fact, my taking things literally got me off jury duty because I don't remember the dialogue. But I was in the jury box and the lawyers were asking questions and all, and they asked me a question and all. I looked at the judge and I said, "Does he mean A or does he mean B?" The lawyer said he can be excused because I was overthinking it or whatever, but it got me out of jury duty. Now, don't do that unless that really is don't use it as a way to get out of jury duty because. I mean, that's one of the great things about our country. If someone is accused of something, they do have a trial um, by a jury of their peers, and you really should do your jury duty if you can. And I was not intending to get out. Honestly, I didn't understand what he was saying. Now, I do not struggle with sarcasm. I get sarcasm, morning radio, TV, and movies. I am very sarcastic when I talk to people. However, if you are around me and you are being sarcastic, unless you say bazinga after it, 9 out of 10 times that sarcasm go right over my head. So if you feel comfortable, share your unique way of communicating in the comments on this video. You may be an autistic adult if you rehearse conversations or do what is known as scripting. And this means before a conversation, you mentally prepare what to say, and after you replay it to analyze how it went. Guilty. And there's not much I can say about this. I do this all the time, especially if I'm going to have a conversation with somebody I never interacted with before or making a phone call to someone. The phone, the phone and I have had a love-hate relationship, and I really hate it more than I love using the phone to actually talk to somebody. And so, uh, yeah, it's difficult for me. And then I will replay it in my mind when I'm processing before I go to sleep at the end of the day to kind of reevaluate myself and see how it went. Which a lot of us, or you may think that's annoying, that's horrible to do. It's actually a good way when we do this, when we process what we did during the day, replay it in our minds, analyze, we we don't want to use it to be too critical of ourselves. We want to use it as a tool to help us do better next time. It's like going through a debriefing after, an incident. It's what happened, what do we learn, and if we're in the same situation in the future, how can we do it better? What can we have done in this situation that we can learn from for future situations? So, if you feel comfortable, whatever you're comfortable with, share in the comments. Do you rehearse conversations or script before meeting someone and kind of review it afterwards? And does that help you? Whatever you're comfortable with. You may be an autistic adult if you experience meltdowns or shutdowns. And they would occur, meltdowns and shutdowns would occur when you're overwhelmed. You might have emotional outbursts which are meltdowns, or completely withdraw, which are shutdowns. I do. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm always on the risk of having a meltdown. I am. No matter where we go, no matter if we're interacting with people, there's always a chance of a meltdown. Even when my wife and I, who've been together 25 years, counting the years that we dated before we got married, there's always a chance in a conversation it can lead to a meltdown. The chances have gotten lower because she's learned some of my emotional triggers and we try to stay away from them. But there's always a chance of that. And there's always a chance of a shutdown. Now, in my case, it's more likely you're going to get a meltdown because I'm very verbal and I'm a fighter, verbal fighter, and then a shutdown. But there are times that I will go places and my wife will be with me and we'll be at this usually happens at the hospital. If I got to give blood or get a shot or something or start an IV, I will start with a meltdown or I will go into a shutdown. And my wife has to take over and advocate for me because I have a horrid, horrid, out of control fear of needles. So, do you have shutdowns? Do you have meltdowns? Whatever you're comfortable with, share that in the comment section. I'd love to hear them, and it might help somebody else feel like they're not alone in the world going through some of these traits as autistic adults. Now, continuing our tribute to Jeff Foxworthy, you might be an autistic adult if you prefer online or text-based communication. And this is because you may find it easier to express yourself in writing, that is, rather than in spoken conversations. Uh, I like the written, online written text messages thing, because when somebody says something to me, it gives me a little bit more time to process what they say and come up with a response that's going to be appropriate instead of me just saying the first thing that enters my mind, which often is not always the best way to respond to something, especially if it is an emotional trigger that's going to cause me to have maybe a meltdown and I say something later, regret it, and I damage a friendship or relationship. However, even though I prefer that in a lot of conversations, I prefer if I got to call technical support for my cell phone, maybe my domain, my website, whatever. I need to get technical support. I'd rather talk to a human because online chat, it just takes forever. It drives me batty, and then there's certain things, the tone of voice is lost in an online chat. And when you say some words in online chat, they can be taken the wrong way. I remember hearing a story, um, and this is about a email, but it's very appropriate here. That this person was emailing with another person, and they made kind of a business offer. It's the business thing. He made a business offer, and it got to a point where changes had to be made to the offer, which happens. And he wrote to the person that he's going to make the bid to, whatever, or offer a price at, whatever. He said, "I will resend the I'll resend the email." Or no, actually, I'll resend the offer. Now, resend meaning I will send it again in email. Because it was text based, the person read it as I will resend or take it away. Because there's certain words that have different meanings, and tone of voice can mean so much. So I do force myself to talk to people on the phone for support, because communication and text can be taken so many different ways. And it's a good way to make sure I push my envelope a little bit and push myself out of my comfort zone. So when I do have to interact with somebody, I have some skill, I build up some skills for it. So do you prefer online or text-based communication? If you're comfortable, share that in the comments in the video. You might be an autistic adult if you either are super organized or struggle with executive functioning. You might be hyper organized with lists and routines or have trouble starting tasks and managing time. I think I fall somewhere between the two. I have a lot of lists and hyper organized in my mind, but there's sometimes I have trouble starting a new task. I gotta get myself pumped up, like Saturday Night Live, Hans and Franz, pump you up, and then managing time. I'm really good at that because I worked in radio, but sometimes I do struggle with managing time, and I try to do too much in one day, and I'm learning to better understand how much time things are going to take. Because when I don't manage it well and I say I'm going to do A through X, right? And I only get through A through D during the day, then I feel like a failure. So I'm learning to do that. So share if you're comfortable, if you're either super organized or struggle with executive functioning in the comments on this video. Now, you may be an autistic adult if social norms don't always make sense. This means you wonder why people follow unwritten rules, like pretending to be interested in small talk or avoiding certain topics. That's me. I don't get why people follow unwritten. I don't even know what the unwritten rules are. And that goes back to what we talked about in the first point. We feel like we are different because everyone else got the social rule book of probably unwritten rules that we did not get and we don't understand them. Okay. And I don't understand why people pretend to be interested in small talk. I pretend to because I think that's expected of me, but there are times, and I do this with my wife more than anyone else because she gets me. And she'll tell me, it's gonna snow tomorrow in Buffalo. Now we live in Missouri, and I love the people in Buffalo. Okay, but I would say to her, why do you think I would be even remotely interested in knowing about the weather in Buffalo? It turned out to be small talk, but I don't understand why you need to pretend to be interested in something. So if you have any experiences on how you feel about social norms don't always make sense to you and you feel comfortable sharing them, share those in the comments. And you may be an autistic adult if you feel relieved when you are learning about autism. And this means if when you read about autism or watch videos from autistic adults like this video, you feel or have an experience that feels like looking in a mirror and suddenly your past experience starts making sense. When I started my journey of suspecting I was autistic, moving into self-identifying, which led to me pursuing a late diagnosis of autism, I wanted to read everything I could and watch every video I could because it made me feel like I'm not an alien. I'm not alone. I'm not different than everyone else. There's others who are like me. And that really helped me through my journey going from suspecting I was autistic to a late diagnosis of autism. So if that's done the same for you and you're comfortable, share that in the comments as well. Now it's your turn. Share anything you want about this video. And tell me, how many of these 15 traits resonated with you? I would love to hear your comments. Until next time, this is the Confident Autistic, aka Chris Mitchell, reminding you that I'm always here to help you live life confidently autistic.